be weary of me. And all others who say that this is the right way to do something, right? There is a context involved. The context of what they think is a great idea, well, there are conditions there. It doesn't mean it's going to apply to every situation, especially when it comes to team methodologies, especially when it comes to the right options architecturally for an application. I mean, why do people come along and do this? Well, there's a money-making industry behind this. The architecture guy, right, with a new architecture is going to say that the previous architectures are no good. Say, right, mine's superior, right? The guy who's designing the new modeling tool, he's going to say, well, UML sucked, and this is why I've developed the new one, right? So all of these people are involved in promoting themselves, promoting their ideas, and there's a financial gain, of course. Why is it that there is always a book involved, right? And they're on the talk circuit. I mean, this is a very important concept of promoting your ideas and getting it out there and getting some kind of financial reward. This is an evangelical thing. This is not altruism, right? This is evangelical. And then you come and you get an idea and you read a book and you read a paper and you see it and people start talking about it and gains momentum and you say, well, we must adopt this. Well, you know, maybe it will be good for you. Maybe some idea of it is. Maybe some nugget, right, within it is good for you. But don't just jump in with both feet. I mean, there's so many things. There's unit testing, microservices. There's all these things that come out every day. There's Docker. Are you going to adopt it today? Why? What's the benefit to you? Is it a true benefit to you? Are there a number of benefits? Are there some negatives involved? Well, of course there are. You have to make the right decisions. You can't jump in with both feet without really understanding the empirical evidence. And is there empirical evidence? Well, usually not, right? And I call this thing the Techulum. I've taken technology, I've taken pendulum, I put it together and I've called it the Techulum. We sway from one side to the other. It's flat UI, it's raised UI. It's shadows, it's no shadows, right? It's thin clients, it's slightly fatter clients, it's back to thin clients, right? We have ideas of small teams and large teams, right? All of these ideas, they circle around back and forth. Every 5-6 years, we're doing the same thing again. We call it progression, but actually it's a little bit of a, one step forward or 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of scenario, right? Because we're going forward, but we're also bringing back things that we had in our past. Rehashing of ideas in different ways. You've got all these expressions and heuristics and terminologies and ideas, and they're all floating out there, and you've got to be careful, because if you come into the industry, let's say on this day one, the prevailing idea that's happening at that moment, you're going to be swept up in that if you're not careful, and then you can project, and then you're going to use that, and then you're going to go, this doesn't work in this way, and it doesn't work in that way, and you're going to start rebelling and getting your own ideas. And what I'm saying about the Techulum is that your own ideas might not be your own. It might be a bit of a rehash of what's happened 5-7 years before. Right. You should evaluate it according to your team. You should evaluate all these ideas, whether it's good for that team. And as soon as you get a member leave, it may not be the best thing for your new team. When the new member arrives, there's some other way of doing it. Things are very, very agile, right? Things are very, very real world. Things change. You cannot adopt a single dogmatic mindset, right? So I've written a few things down, okay? So there are no golden egg-laying geese. One size doesn't fit all. Grass is not greener on the other side. You see where I'm going with this? 2 in a bush, 2 birds. Ideas are not perfect. The heuristics. You've got to accept the heuristic, work out what is good and bad in your context, and understand. And with no disrespect to people that are contributing to our technology and to our industry, they're full of shit. Right? They have a mentality of becoming the guru and pouring out their ways. There's a little bit of help there, but there's also books. There's all kinds of things involved. And you've got to be very careful of what you adopt and what you do. Avoid the Techulum. Avoid the Techulum, right? Let it swing a little bit. Don't let it swing too far. You'll get out of control. Don't be dogmatic. Don't say my way is the only way. I went to an interview once. And I was asked, do you know the Booch method? I said, yes, I've read this and that and that and that. I've seen the documentation. I've seen the stuff on what you need to do. I understand a little bit about the process. I've not used it. Boy, does it seem too complicated for most development environments. Boy, it seems very regimentary. Boy, it feels a little bit stifling. I kind of think that we should like bounce together and have a team and see what's right to do at the right time. I mean, I'm not against rules and regulations and putting things in boxes, but we've got to do things very carefully and not put a lot of extra weight on developers who are already squashed with technology and all these other things. And there we are in an interview, and I was paraphrasing, after my answer, the guy stood up and motioned to shake my hand and said, "Thanks for coming in." Unit testing. This is one of those really dogmatic things that people are just jumping on with mindless following. Take two teams. One team has a senior and a junior, and the other team has two juniors. Which one do you pick? Let's say we have two juniors with unit testing of 100%, and we have two seniors with no unit testing. Which one do you pick? Now, most of the time, we're going to say experience trumps the code coverage. And I would agree with that. I think two developers who really understand what they're doing, who've got experience, who's analytical, who's methodical, who understand what they're doing and write good code, and they're professional about it, and they know what they're doing, I'm going to trust them. They can supply some unit tests if it helped them, I don't mind, but I'm going to trust them more than two juniors that happen to write code coverage, because I know that their tests are probably not going to be that accurate, and I'm going to have to fix their tests, right? And I'm going to have to see how analytical they were and whether they've written the right kind of tests. And if they don't have enough experiences as professional developers, then they're not going to build tests properly. So when you look at these two teams, it's not clear cut. You can't say it's unit testing providing value. You have to look at the people. You have to look at what they are providing, and it's always about the people. I've been in teams where we've been bogged down with all kinds of problems, and then we just open up our minds and we say, "Listen guys, how do we get this done?" And some bright spark says, "You know what, leave me alone for a week. Go do something else. Leave me alone for a week. I'm gonna be able to clear this up." And he does. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you can experience in the real world with real developers. And it's not about testing. Now, don't get me wrong, all you unit testing people, I'm not downing it completely. There is value to everything, and there's negatives to everything. What I'm saying is when you're dogmatic about unit tests, and it has to become part of everything you do, and you can't believe anybody else doesn't do it, and you can't believe that, what kind of people, what kind of team is that when they don't even have unit tests? Oh my God, right? This is not right. Right? There are teams out there developing with unit tests that really work. And there are teams out there that don't use much unit tests, and they also work. So I'll leave you with this. Avoid echo chambers. Read contrasting ideas. Now go buy my book, The Techulum, a practical guide.